Megastars are dying. With that said, let's talk about the important bits of 2024. The music. In contrast to 2023, pop music critics all over the internet seem to be regarding this year as a pretty positive one. The new stars are fun, the music is good, so on and so forth. I'm not personally a chart watcher, but in researching for this video, I was surprised at how many of the songs here I'd already heard and loved. And maybe that's a result of my general investment in 2024's music being stronger than last year. But equally, the death of the megastar in the 2020s has resulted in the charts being way more watchable in recent times. Okay, maybe death of the megastar is wrong. Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish, so on, still count as megastars, I think. But it's definitely a changing of the guard in some way. Ed Sheeran's gone indie, Justin Bieber's gone AWOL, and Drake is, well, Drake. He might get a number one at some point this year because even Kanye managed it, but he'll never be taken seriously again. The only one still clearly at the top is Taylor Swift, but I don't know how long that'll last. That new album was pretty bad. Fortnite only hit number one for a week before sinking back down, and that weird pattern of releasing a new version of Poets Department every time she was about to lose the number one album spot just reeks of desperation. In all honesty though, people losing their stardom is just a result of the larger state of the music industry. You know what I'm talking about. The rise of short-form content has had a monumental impact on the charts. TikTok trends come and go in basically no time at all, but they blaze so fucking hot that even people who don't regularly use TikTok are getting blasted with them. Look, TikTok may or may not be a good thing for the state of music. It's easy to call out the way that trends promote artists. You don't need a good song anymore, you just need a catchy 20 seconds or so. I think back to songs like Gale's ABCDEFU or Tate McRae's You Love Me First. Both pretty bad full songs that had a memorable enough hook to garner attention, whether that attention was good or bad. So yeah, you can totally look at the rise of TikTok in that way. But it is hard for me to do that, mostly because I'm pretty aware of the human tendency to outright dismiss any new medium of listening to music or producing art in general. Vinyl users hated CDs, CD users hated streaming. If you go back far enough, there were people complaining about the commercialization of paper. Streaming has issues, obviously, but that's due to the lack of enforced rules for the people determining the money flow, not necessarily the music streaming platform as a concept. There is one thing that is undeniable though, in my opinion. TikTok as a platform is making the charts a hell of a lot more interesting. I mean, I guess that's just my vibes. It's easier to have a solid opinion on music when I've got more time to hear it as a functioning adult rather than as a high schooler. But look, regardless of what you think the quality is, we've never had such a variety of number one hits before. If you look at the 2010s and the number ones of each year, they've all got roughly 10 to 12 separate tracks that hit that peak. I'm writing this mid-September and we've already had 16. 8 of those performers are getting their first number one ever, and before the overwhelming streak of country in the charts, the longest continuous run was like that for 3 separate weeks. And that has to be, objectively a good thing. Competition is a good thing, at least in this space, for music listeners. There are plenty of artists making great music that could just get lucky enough to have their songs take off. Hell, even artists that haven't hit number one, it still feels like their time is now. I still can't believe Good Luck Babe has only peaked at number 6 so far. Billie Eilish hasn't gotten a number one this year. Charlie XCX didn't even break the top 10. Tommy Richmond was the sound behind every second video you've seen this year, and he still only hit number 2. So we'll let this video be a little summary of 2024's pop music so far. We'll go through the songs at the top, the songs that should have been at the top, and we'll provide a general opinion on popular music this year. And as always, I've definitely missed talking about a track that I should have. So if there's anything at all that I missed, please let me know in the comments. I'm pretty bad at keeping up with general charts and trends, so I've got no doubt there's something I missed. Anyway, let's go. Oh yeah, this hit number one. Yay. Look, through any year, the beginnings and ends are basically devoid of any eye-grabbing cultural moments. Artists want to release the song of the summer, not be competing with All I Want for Christmas Is You. If a massive artist does release a big cultural moment during this time, like Uptown Funk way back when, it will dominate the charts. Hell, even if it's not a cultural moment, it might still dominate, because I'm pretty sure everybody's forgotten about Lovin' On Me at this point. Do people even remember that Jack Harlow exists other than the month around his releases? This peaked for 5 separate weeks, yet I'm pretty sure the only thing anyone remembers is the I keep it short with a bitch Lord Farquaad line. Bars. Also, it's a sex song about how boring Jack is in bed. Is it just me, or does that seem really strange? It's like a love song talking about the thrills of cohabitation and doing your taxes together. I guess it's possible. Still a bit weird. Point being, Jack Harlow does not want to match your freak. And also, this song sucks. Nothing points to the idea of the death of the megastar more than the fact that Ariana freaking Grande released Eternal Sunshine this year, and I hardly see anyone talk about it. For such a big artist, it really does feel like this album just came and went. It's even more surprising when I consider the fact that the lead single Yes And was pretty good, actually. Look, I don't think Eternal Sunshine as an album was great, personally, and the main reason for that was that it played itself way too safe, especially after a pretty fun banger right here. It's a great song, a super fun, danceable house track with an irresistible hook. And I'll get into it a little more when I talk about the other Ariana number one, but she's super compelling as a lyricist on the new album. The pro-autonomy message on Yes And is really admirable, and really just reinforces the bounce of the song. Actually, really thinking about it, I like this one a lot more than I realized, and just super likable from all directions. This was the real 20v1. Hey, Megan's ruled for a while now. It's kind of been blown over like everything else hip-hop related since the Kendrick-Drake beef, but Hiss might legitimately be the best thing she's ever done. Its impact is only increased by the fact that it made Nicki Minaj have a mental breakdown. Guess she couldn't handle Megan's Law. Hiss is a spiritual sequel to Thought Shit in my eyes, but with the aggression cranked up to 11. She is sick of the haters, not afraid of talking shit about ex-boyfriends, or the assault trial for that matter, which is still just an insane thing to have happened. Mostly her confidence is just irresistible, and the number of classic one-liners here is elite. Shout out to Bankroll and Lil Ju, by the way, the beat is amazing. It's bouncy, but still gives Megan room to work her magic. Anyway, between this and Yes And, it feels like there's a really common theme of it's nobody's goddamn business who you sleep with, which, yeah, damn straight. Hiss rules. As I'm writing this, it's been a few days since we found out that Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter didn't get a single nomination at the CMAs. That is, in a word, insanity. I do not care what you think about the album, whether you think it was the worst thing that's come out this year. It's the best performing country project of the year. There is no way that it shouldn't have gotten any nominations at all. With that said, I am so sick of this song. I mean, I still think it's good. It played over the radio at work and my boss called it one of the worst songs she'd ever heard, which is nuts. The harmonies in this one are great, especially on the verses, and her vocal run on the second half of the chorus is so fun. But while it's still a song I like, it's also the song that would most quickly make me lose my mind. I went on a trip with a friend of mine a few years ago where he played a 40-minute loop of the chorus to Thunder by Imagine Dragons, and if that treatment was given to this, it would probably still be worse. Generally, I think Cowboy Carter was a successful branch into country, but I could happily go without hearing either Texas Hold'em or Jolene ever again. But give Beyoncé her CMA nominations, please. Against all odds, in spite of the presence of Kanye on a worldwide smash hit in the year of our Lord 2024, in spite of how largely disastrous the Vultures project has been music-wise, Carnival is fine. The chorus is catchy, and I actually think the atmosphere of the beat is really cool. That's all I want to say about this. Look, if you unironically think that Kanye's genius revelation as a result of 21 Jump Street somehow forgives all of the things that he said, or if you tell people to separate the art from the artist while Kanye himself alludes to his whole anti-Semitic arc in his own verses, I don't know what to tell you. Just go outside. Or listen to better hip-hop. A bunch of rap hits this year are better than this, as long as those hits weren't made by like Jack Harlow. Ooh, I am so torn on this one. Like I said, Ariana's become a pretty moving artist emotionally, in my opinion. She feels more invested in this than the entire runtime of Positions, and her brilliant voice makes that fact really important. However, We Can't Be Friends is just so boring. It's a safe song. I feel like I've heard it 100 times before. I know you can point to the style of Yes and say that dance pop sound has been done before, but it's still a unique and interesting spin on it. If you pretend you don't know who made it, We Can't Be Friends could have been made by almost any synth-pop artist over the last 10 years. I don't really like that argument since Ariana is the only one who made this song in the first place, and that's kind of the point, but she just doesn't sell this one as much for me. It's still a decent song though, and it has a heavenly outro, basically worth listening to the whole song just for that. This has been a pretty consistent run of number ones, actually. I bet you made a decent song to keep that run going, didn't you, Teddy Swims? Fuck you. There's this really awful trend in pop, particularly in pop soul artists, which seems to make them think that louder and more dramatic is always better. It's not. It's definitely not. But hey, Teddy Swims made the soul equivalent of an Imagine Dragons song, and it caught on enough to hit the big time. Good for him. Next time you have a guitar solo in your song, could you compress it a little more? I could almost hear the actual notes being played. Not much else to say here. It's annoying, it's lyrically pointless, the production sucks. I really don't know why people latched onto this one so much. I don't even know how to summarize the absolute meltdown that the release of this song caused, so I'm not going to. Plus, Not Like Us obviously hit number 1, so I'm gonna have to talk about it later. Good news is, Like That is awesome, even without the context. I actually enjoy Future's performance just as much as Kendrick's part. At this point, that hook is iconic. It's probably one of my favorite Metro beats of all time. The Eazy-E sample is perfect. Also, is that a bike horn? What the hell? The key is that the feature was a surprise, right? It's not credited, Like That wasn't a single, but as a result of that, it left even more impact since the growth was so organic. They maximized the possible audience, and the song itself does more than enough to back it up. There's something so sweet about Hozier's first number 1 coming 10 years after his breakout. Almost too sweet. Seriously though, I am super happy for him. He seems like a great dude. He's been releasing pretty consistent work over the last decade ever since Take Me to Church, and he's got that breakout now with Too Sweet. It's not quite as brilliant as Take Me to Church, I don't think, but it's still a really solid pop song with a decent hook. The thing that does set it apart is that bass line, which is peak funkiness, baby. Other than that, there's not a whole lot I can say. Not his best, but I am glad he's getting his flowers now. Wait, is that what that album cover meant after all? I personally think Taylor did well limiting herself to 93 different versions of the Tortured Poets Department. Could have had a show restraint. Now you might think that this song is boring. However, it actually matches the lyrics about literally just living a suburban life and happening to be in love at the same time. Incredibly universal and uninteresting experience, incredibly universal and uninteresting song. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as Love It On Me or Lose Control, but yeah, bad. So boring. Genuinely, what the hell happened? She could make slow songs interesting. I still like her albums Folklore and Evermore a lot. This is just so devoid of any describable qualities that it's remarkable in its own way. It is insane to me that 2024 has been such a weird year for hip-hop that Not Like Us is my 3rd favourite rap number 1 of the year. You know, that song that's been playing everywhere for months that Kendrick is going to perform at the goddamn Super Bowl. The one that grilled Drake so hard that he'll never be taken seriously again. Yeah, it's just kind of middle of the road for 2024. Obviously, it's still really fantastic. The most important thing to note is that the cultural impact of literally every single second of the song cannot be overstated. Right from the DJ Mustard tag, to the Hide Your Little Sisters from Him line, to the certified PDF file line, to the A minor. How is this real? I mean, I don't really think I have to sell Not Like Us to you. Either you like it, or you're a Drake fan. Take a guess at which camp I'm in. I wonder if Post Malone will ever make a rap song again. I mean, I respect the guy, honestly. I think he's dived fully into the country sound. Look, he's even riding with the age-old country tradition of blaming the people you're dating for your own problems. Plus, he got Morgan Wallen on the track, an expert in the field of shifting blame. I still do like the song, I just kind of have to ignore what they're saying, which isn't that hard. The guitar line is really sweet, and that chorus melody is a classic. I just really messed with the production on this one and wish more of the songs on the new album were this pristinely made. Country might not be my field, and therefore I might not be as critical of this one as I should be, but I liked it on Impact, I still like it now. Pretty solid track. Out of all of the Sabrina Carpenter singles, why is Please x3 the one that hit number 1? It's like absolutely the worst one. I am genuinely glad she's finding success with these new songs. This is just clearly the most meh one she's released. The lyricism is really solid, since she really does sell this feeling of anxiousness about the inevitability of her partner's bad decisions, while still seeming to be willing to imply the consequences. The "don't embarrass me, motherfucker" line does a great job of that. I don't know. Maybe this vibe works for other people, but it felt like I had to listen to this one countless times to even remember the hook. in the general stream of pretty interesting hits, Please 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 really feels like it could have gotten lost in the shuffle, yet it didn't, which I guess points to that. And here it is, possibly the biggest song of the year. As I'm writing this, it's been at number 1 for 10 weeks, 9 of those being continuous in a row. Something about it has captured the minds of the world, and that something is alcoholism, obviously. Seriously though, I do like a bar song a lot. It feels like this year's version of Stick Season, since Noah Kahan got big off a similar sound, kind of rooted in the country scene without being explicitly tied to it. And that's the key to 2024's country hits. After last year, where the big country songs were Richmond, North of Richmond, and Try That in a Small Town, these country hits feel like a direct response. Like, hey, what if we made country music that was produced well and had good melodies and wasn't racist? Over the last few years, country has taken a million critical hits. Is Shaboozey what we need to shake up the genre for good? That's all the number 1s we had this year. But that's only part 1 of the video. For the most part, they're pretty good. Obviously, there's some garbage like Lovin' On Me or Fortnite. I don't like Lose Control, even though it seems like a lot of other people do. But Kendrick, Sabrina Carpenter, Hosier, Megan Thee Stallion, Shaboozey, all great. Pop music has been awesome this year, and that's even without talking about some of the other great hits like... Alright, let's talk about Chappelle Roan, because if I see one more person saying that she's not cut out for the fame or she can't handle it, I'm going to go insane. The reality is that couldn't be further from the truth, right? If you're talking about the ability to handle fame, she's demonstrated an ability to stand up for her own privacy rights and setting a concrete distance between herself and her fans. She's confident enough to set her boundaries, and you're saying she's not cut out for the fame? You wanted to just sit down, shut up, and accept being stalked? Parasocial behaviours should always be called out for what they are. Creepy. With that said, neither Chappelle Roan hit from this year is my favourite of hers. Good Luck Babe is better than Hot to Go, probably. It's definitely grown on me since I first heard it, and that anthemic hook is basically perfect. I just think the verses are a little slower than they should be. Hot to Go had the opposite effect for me though, since I like it a little less every time I hear it. It just comes off as more and more tacky, the sort of thing designed to be performed by cheerleaders and nobody else. Look, it might not seem like I like Chappelle Roan. That couldn't be further from the truth. Her album from last year is an instant classic in my opinion, and tracks like Pink Pony Club, Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl, After Midnight, and Femininomenon are still in my rotation. I just don't really know why these particular hits were chosen. When I first heard Hit Me Hard and Soft, there were 3 tracks that I instantly thought could be hits, on an album which is once again very much Billie Eilish and not just pop charts. Lunch got a music video for one, and is also clearly the track with the most pop appeal. Plus, Chappelle Roan has more than proved the market for lesbian love songs exists. The closing track, Blue, also could have gone big, I think, since it adheres to previous hits of hers lyrically, and the production has a surprising bite to it. The third potential hit was Birds of a Feather. All 3 of these are great songs, by the way, but Birds of a Feather is the one that took off, and fortunately, I'm finally on the bandwagon. There is something strange about Birds of a Feather, though. It feels influenced by, way older stuff. This could have been released any time over the last 4 decades and probably still worked. And creating something this timeless is undeniably an accomplishment. It's the most breezy and relaxed Billie's ever sounded, and it's a cool addition to an impressively growing catalogue. Please, Please, Please hit number 1. Espresso didn't quite get there. There's no justice in this world. Like I already made clear, I really like Espresso. Some of the writing is rough. That's That Me Espresso is pretty clunky, and the way she says singer in the second verse should be investigated. But it's fundamentally just such a catchy, fun, easy listening song that it's hard to hate. I mean, if you've come to hate the popularity of certain phrases, then this track is probably your kryptonite, but if not, there's no reason to not enjoy this one. Just sit back and relax. Have fun. Banger. Tommy Richmond's actually been around for a while. He started out as a kid on SoundCloud in 2016, releasing songs like Ball and Stalin, and now he's signed up to Brent Faiyaz's label and has the TikTok hit of the year. What a glow up. You can't say he doesn't deserve it either, because man, does $1 Million Baby go hard. It's a legitimately weird song, combining elements of alternative R&B, funk and hip-hop to create this weird amalgamation of awesomeness. His falsetto was really good, and not just irritating. Honestly, overall this one's just a lot of fun. One of my favourite hits of the year, for sure. It was tough writing about this one. Look, I'll be straight, I don't like beautiful things. If you're more into it than me, that's great, but this sort of overblown, loud pop rock has never really done it for me, so I wasn't ever really going to connect with it. I did have a whole section comparing it to Imagine Dragons originally, but besides the fact that it's lazy writing to basically recycle my loose control critiques and other commentary, I also just don't know if it's accurate. Imagine Dragons were just lazy and emotionless for most of the 2010s. They're out of that phase now, but that was the big issue with most of their big songs except for Believer. Benson Boone is not lazy. God knows he's trying his best. He's straining to push his voice further than he should. He's pounding that guitar as much as he can. None of it really comes together and just makes for a weird listen, but I do believe the effort is there, and that is more than enough. I've never heard anything else from Benson Boone, but I wouldn't be surprised if his other stuff is a lot more tolerable than this. Beautiful Things just doesn't play to his strengths, and I'm surprised it got so big despite that. I'm always a little shocked by how big Eminem still is. That shouldn't come as a shock to me, the guy who just spent a month listening to, ranking, and making a video about the entire Eminem discography. But the gulf between how he used to be perceived and how he's currently perceived is so unfathomably huge that it's hard to tie him to the charts now. To a certain degree, you have to respect the longevity, even if I'm mixed on the output. And now the lead single to his newest album performed really well, so I looked like even more of a dumbass. Look, I like Houdini, genuinely. I tweeted about this weird experience, but listening to it so many times while editing that ranking video really made me just enjoy the song and separated it in my mind from being a self-parody. A co-worker asked me one time what I thought of it, and I told him I'd rather just go listen to Without Me for a better experience instead, and I kind of regret that now. I haven't changed my tune on the rest of the album, but yeah, I'm glad this one was a hit with so many people. Brat Summer is over. Actually, Brat Summer should have died with the Cumler endorsement from Charlie, and it should have died a second time after brands picked it up and started using it everywhere. The commercialization of Brat is really quite remarkable, and it's even more remarkable given how increasingly mid I'm finding it. Sorry guys, maybe my Brat Summer will come next year. For what it's worth, the songs picked out as hits are generally some of my favorites from the album. Still don't like Apple very much, but I love 360 immediately, and I always enjoyed Girl So Confusing, so the remix is just another layer of brilliance. Ultimately, I'm still super hyped for that remix album coming soon because Guess, Girl So Confusing, and Talk Talk are all strengthened by the addition of the extra performers. I think they add a layer that I always felt was missing from Brat, so hopefully the remixes land for me. Anyway, yeah, Brat Summer is still over. Just in time for Brat Autumn! It's weird to think about, considering Houdini and Training Season both landed themselves inside the top 5, but Radical Optimism was such a step down from the heights of future nostalgia that it's kind of wild. That's not me trying to have a dig at the album, by the way, which isn't great but still has bangers. Houdini and Training Season are both really good, and I thought Maria was a pretty fun deep cut as well, but you remember how big her biggest hits were, right? Don't Start Now, Break My Heart, Levitating, they were fucking everywhere. This whole album was everywhere, and since then she hasn't been everywhere. She put out a single track with one of the most talked about rappers of the last 5 years, and it was so deeply average that it completely halted her momentum and sent her back to the pre-New Rules days. Okay, maybe that's overdramatic. Obviously she's still got hits, or I wouldn't be talking about her. Houdini and Training Season were massive, and I especially hear the latter on the radio all the time. But they're not just massive, they're really good. Good enough to suggest that with a better run of form or a more convincing album, they would have done even bigger numbers. I'm glad they did well, but also kind of disappointed they didn't somehow do even better. Finally, we're done. I've been talking forever, and it feels like this video might be a little disjointed, but ultimately, I wanted to give a more broad discussion to the entire year of popular music in the hopes of contextualizing how genuinely good and fun the charts have been this year. Not that I was regularly posting videos or anything in previous years, but even if I had, I would not have been interested in talking about the charts. Or if I had been, the video sure as hell wouldn't have been positive. Whereas now, I'm feeling good about most of it. There's still the occasional miss, but chalk that up to my bad taste. I'm sorry, Teddy Swims, I am still unfamiliar with your game. With the end of 2024 drawing near, it seemed more and more safe to say that we'll be looking back on this year in music as a good one. So now the question turns forward. Will we continue to see a resurgence of good taste in country? Will ravenous fans drive away one of the most fun pop stars we've had in years? Will Drake ever try to come back from this year's disasters? Will Jack Harlow be introduced to BDSM parties and grow to love whips and chains? I don't know, but I'm super excited to find out.